So I came across this Reddit thread asking, there's this user, particular zombie 539, asking why people like to use vanilla GNOME. And this is something that's been popping up a lot recently. Nick over at Linux Experiment has had a couple of videos out there singing the praises of like Fedora, which ships with the default GNOME experience, talking about how it's within GNOME's right to, roll out this libadwaita thing, kind of like bringing in the reins a little bit, cutting into people's ability to customize things, undermining themes and extensions and stuff like that. And for whatever reason, it's just been at the forefront of everyone's mind. Is GNOME a good desktop environment, or should we be customizing it to kind of like fit other desktop paradigms? Because it's no secret that for most people coming over from Mac OS or from Windows, GNOME is a pretty substantially different workflow. I have this window open here, but if can't minimize it, but if I were to minimize it, if I were just to show you a blank screen, there's nowhere really to launch your applications, right? The whole heart and soul of GNOME is the activities overview, which shows us our virtual desktops and shows us our dash here, not our dock, our dash, or dashboard, and then applications that we can, launch by dragging them over to whatever desktop we want or by double clicking them. And so the complaint, at least the way I read it on this thread, is, I use a lot of programs with my mouse. I'm a heavy multitasker, and I find it cumbersome to come over here, click activities, come over here, where activities is so much further away from the screen, right? I have to travel all the way up to the corner, I have to travel all the way down to the dash in order to launch an application. But, and to everyone's credit in the thread, people were saying you're using it wrong, and I tend to agree with that. GNOME is different, but GNOME isn't bad. It just expects something different out of the user in order to be productive within their workflow. And so instead of coming over here, even if you are using the mouse, instead of coming over here to click activities, you should be just swinging your mouse over to the corner and using the hot corner. Now, to their credit, it is pretty far to travel from this corner down here to the dash. But that's not really what the dash is for. The dash isn't so you can come click on it, although you certainly can. The dash is ordered, and you can set the order how you want. And so say I want to open up MuseScore here, which is my third application. If I need a reminder of that, instead of coming over here and swinging my mouse, I hit the super key, brings up my overview, I take a look at my dash, notice that it's third, and then I hit super 3. And then it opens up MuseScore. So GNOME isn't bad. GNOME is just unfamiliar. Most people just don't understand how to use it. And even without knowing that little trick where the dash is just, a reminder of where things are, oh, I need to open up my files, that's number 6, super 6, here comes files. And you can do that even without it. If you memorize super 6 as your files, if that's where you have it, then you can just open it without going to activities. But activities is triggered by super. It's not triggered by the button, right? That really is a terrible way of using it. And I even find using the hot corner as kind of a terrible way of using it. Super. But even if you don't use dash as a reminder, you have your favorites there, but say you don't go into it, simply just pressing super and typing is much more efficient than coming over here to activities, clicking activities, coming over here, clicking show applications, and then scrolling and trying to find the application you want. If I want to get to tweaks, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 mouse clicks and so much screen travel just to get to tweaks. Instead, I should hit super tweaks and spell it correctly, right? And then press enter. So again, super tweaks, enter, there we go. That's much, much faster or even than coming over here and trying to trigger the dash to dock, clicking all applications, and then looking for tweaks. So it assumes a bit of responsibility from the user in order to use it effectively. And it assumes that you've taken the time to familiarize yourself with the new desktop paradigm. GNOME lives and dies by a blank slate. That's the point of GNOME. Get out of the way. That's why there's no desktop icons. That's why there's no dash to dock by default. It's just the canvas, and it expects you as the user to fill that canvas as you need it. That's why we have stuff like, let me open up some terminals. So got a terminal there. I have a virtual desktop over here running OBS. I have another virtual desktop. Let's open up another terminal. And I can just keep doing this. Oh, it just took me back to my first terminal. Let's open up a new program. Let's open up files, right? And you can keep creating these virtual desktops indefinitely. These are called dynamic workspaces. That's why they exist. So you have a workspace. They encourage you to use a workspace per program, right? Instead of just one desktop alt-tabbing, losing track of where your active windows are, dragging things around, coming over here, clicking activities. All of that is the wrong way to use it. So GNOME isn't a perfect desktop environment. It's certainly not for everyone. But if you're going to leverage criticisms at GNOME, they have to be criticisms that are made in such a way that understands the desktop for what it is and not for what you wish it would be. GNOME isn't Windows, GNOME isn't Mac OS, GNOME is GNOME. And so find complaints that are centered on GNOME as they fail to live up to the expectations that they're setting for themselves, not the expectations that you are setting for them, if that makes any sense. I personally liked the default GNOME experience. I've been running vanilla now for quite some time. Feel free to do the same or not. It's really no sweat off my back, but I thought I would just give my insight into this whole like GNOME issue that's been popping up online recently. All right, thanks guys for tuning in. I'll see you next time.